Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto Yah, creator, maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Israel, the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular short presentation will be addressing the fact of said non-messianics, quote unquote, responding back concerning certain things that was presented. Let's understand that within this book here, the term messianic and non-messianic does not exist. So when people call themselves a name and then call others a name, that's not within this book here. No disrespect. You can begin to see that one is already developing their own righteousness. They're already developing their own definition of holiness. Holy meaning to be set aside or to be separated. They are doing it for themselves already by calling themselves a name and then calling other people a certain name. So that has to be understood to understand the mindset of what we're talking about and what we're going to be addressing in this particular case. Okay? Let us go first in Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, starting in verse 5. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. In Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, it says a certain particular thing will happen in verse 6. In his days, in the days of this righteous king, it says Judah shall be saved and Israel shall dwell safely. Now, in many cases, brothers and sisters who are messianic will go here to say this is talking about Jesus. Now, let's go and see what was going on with the Israelites during the time of Jesus, if we will. Let's go to Luke, if we will, chapter 24. We are in Luke, chapter 24, verse 19. And it says this, and he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. What does that tell you right there in Luke? That the people in the time of Jesus, which was corresponding to the time of Tiberius of Rome, they thought that Jesus would be the one to redeem Israel. Redeem Israel from what? Redeem Israel from their captivity. Redeem Israel from having to answer to Caesar in that particular case. So now if Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, which says in verse 6, in his days Judah shall be saved and Israel shall dwell safely, if that's talking about the timing of Jesus, then it should have been fulfilled during this time. So what happens in some cases with that is, well, it will happen when he comes back. Not so. Let us go, if we will, to Isaiah chapter 9. We're going to go to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. Okay? And it reads as follows. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. This is a prophecy too that many people go to and say that it's talking about Jesus. Let us go and see what was going on in the time of Jesus and the Israelites and what he said will happen. and what he told the people to do when a certain thing would happen. In Luke chapter 21, we're going to go to Luke chapter 21, verse 20. So we can gain understanding of what we're talking about. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let none them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Now, brothers and sisters, what this is saying right here is that when you see Jerusalem encompassed with armies, to flee to the mountains. So during the time of Jesus, he's saying that after his timing, when Jerusalem is encompassed with armies, to flee. So now how can, if that be the case, he be the child that is born unto us, and the son that's given to us, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, when he's saying that when the enemy will come to flee? So the prophecies we see in Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, and in Isaiah chapter 9 cannot be him, because he's not fulfilling it. So what happens at this point, and most times in discussing this, name calling is done, disrespect is shown, and so forth. But when you already know, and this is not to be haughty, even though they're going to say you have pride, they're going to say you haughty, that's what people are going to say. While they say you shouldn't judge, they're going to try to cast stones and so forth. So be it, such is life. The only one that we have to really worry about what name or title or thing will be called is from the Most High. The Son of Man or Sons of Man, they ain't got to worry about what they say about you, because either they're going to like you or not. Either they're going to respect you or not. So don't worry about trying to appease people once it comes down to that. You understand? In the book, brothers and sisters, of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, we want to read something. It says this, Deuteronomy 28, verse 58. And it says this, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. It says all the words of this law that are written in this book. Israel was never told to look for another book. The Most High gave them the Torah. So in Deuteronomy 28, where all Israelites go to validate themselves as Israel, through what they call the Deuteronomy breakdown, or the curses that you see in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. All Israelites go to Deuteronomy 28, which is in the Old Testament. No Israelite goes only dealing with the said New Testament to prove themselves as an Israelite. You got to go back to the Old Testament. Now, with that being said, let's go, if you will, to the book of Lamentations and close out. Lamentations, chapter 5. So we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. And we're going to close out, all right? It says this. Lamentations, chapter 5, verse 21. Turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned. Renew our days as of old. In the Old Testament, the people were asking to have the old ways to be returned to them. Brothers and sisters, in Deuteronomy 28, as we read, in the Lamentations, chapter 5, nowhere do we gain an understanding that we should have a new book. What is going to happen is, from this video, disrespect, slander, name calling, teacher bashing, and so forth. So be it. The Most High alone to be praised. Shalom.